This is Business, Equity, and Opportunities, Accounting and Bookkeeping.
How much capital do you need for a franchise? Ron Jordan, CEO of Jordan Hospitality Group, talks about the costs and what some franchises already include that could save you time and money.
Personal savings and net worth. Those are always going to be challenges. Anybody that's starting new, right? It's a challenge. Because I'll tell you, when I first got into the Popeyes business as one of the owners, I didn't have the personal net worth that was required. I had to put together a group that got there, right? I had to be creative. I had to learn, financing through the SBA. There was a lot of mechanisms, though, that are within your local government that will help you get to a point where you can achieve what's needed in order to grab a franchise of some kind. So when you look at it, some of the most successful McDonald's owners, for instance, right, all started out as dishwashers or cooks or managers, got into their program and really understood how to build equity within themselves over time. Well, that's no different today, right? You have to build the equity blocks every day in your own life. Put some money away, put yourself in a position where you've got a group that's going to help mitigate that risk for you, and then write a plan. If you don't have a plan that's effective, you're not going to be able to work that plan, right? So if you put that stuff together, as well as putting money aside and things like that, it puts you in a position where then you're able to go out and get what you need, at least in the franchise world. In terms of being an independent, that's a much different conversation for a different day. But in terms of my world, that's how you got to do it. Just put together the right plan, the right group, and make sure you're understanding how to build equity within yourself and your team. Every brand has a different initial investment. You usually want to have at least $1 million net worth. That's typically where you want to be, right? And if it's not you by yourself, it's you and 2 or 3 other people that you can combine your personal financial statement and get to $1 million in net worth. Outside of that, I think it's looking at the franchise disclosure documents, which every major franchise company has, and understanding what that investment looks like, and then adding a little bit to it, just for a margin of error, right? Understanding that if they tell you you need $100,000 of working capital, maybe you try to get $200,000. Once you get to that point of understanding that, it puts you in a good space. So when you have a little rainy day, which we always do, it puts you in a position where that rainy day doesn't flood you in and put you out of business. So those are some key pieces that I would look at as I was starting up again, just to make sure, I avoid some of the pitfalls that are inevitable in this business.
Once you determine the cost to get started, Ron recommends you take time to learn more about the ongoing costs.
We've been a small business. We're still a small business technically, right? We have 20 locations. We're under that mid-market cap in terms of our annual revenues. We're close. But going from an independent where we were 25 employees, one thing I can tell you is you have to have a plan for scale and growth, and it has to be responsible, right? So you have to look at that, you have to understand it. As you do, you also have to learn as an owner how to operate individually when you need to, and then how to get out of the weeds when it's also necessary. I think a lot of independent operators, which a lot of managers do as well, is they're doers, right? They've been doing it. Super hard workers. They get up every day at the same time, have a routine, and go in and complete their task. Well, you can't do that when you get to a certain place in your life, right? Like today, we have 20 locations here in Indianapolis. I can't get up at 7 in the morning every day, go to 20 locations, turn ovens and exhaust fans on and get started. You can't do it. You have to employ people to be able to do that. Then you have to try to find the right people that have the right amount of autonomy and a right understanding of the business in general to be able to get up and know this is their business every day. So that's the biggest transition piece, I think, for owners, is to go from that independent to now having to manage people and process versus having just to manage the business before. That's a big swing. A lot of people really struggle with that. I'll be honest with you, my father, he's an operator, great operator. He really struggled when we got from that 1 to 2 units, that 2 to 3 units, that 3 to 5 units, and then 6 eventually. He was still trying to do everything. And I was like, hey, let's take a look at this differently. Of course, as a father-son dynamic, it's always tough, right? You got the son trying to tell the father how to do something, but the challenge for him was looking at it from a systematic approach, right? Understanding that we can't manage every napkin and plate and cup and ketchup packet that goes out the drive-through window. Instead, let's put together a model where we have a margin of error in terms of our cost. We look at that cost, we back into it, we get an understanding of what we can afford and what we can't, and we manage that P&L, and we manage that process versus trying to individually manage that crew member. That is a big struggle for a lot of folks coming out of the independent operation. So hopefully you have a plan for that, and you're able to then, with your own mindset, go from that 100-foot view up to 10,000 feet. And if you can manage that, then you can be successful.